Hi everyone, this is going to be a really quick video on how to use worksheets and checklists, and in general it's going to be very generic. It's going to cover them all. It's really important to do the checklists and the worksheets properly because they are what organize your day. And if you skip over them or skip them altogether or don't do them correctly, then you're going to wind up in the weeds and you're going to leave the shop not quite ready for the second shift, because it'll be during the second shift that the things that you didn't do on your shift are going to catch up, like being out of chocolate, being out of Monin syrups, being out of coffee cups, being out of milk up front. Anything that you did not do on your checklist, you'll be fine for your shift. But then when the next person comes in and they go to make a drink and there's no chocolate, there's no cups, and there's no milk, and they have to stop everything to run and get everything, they're not going to be happy with you, and you don't want to run into them the next day. So be careful to do all the worksheets correctly, and we'll go over a couple of examples right now. Here's an example of the critical items checklist. It's really important to do the critical items checklist. Today is Tuesday, so it looks like it was done today, Tuesday, but we don't know if it was done Wednesday. Thursday is still on here. Friday last week it wasn't done, and Saturday last week it wasn't done. And the purpose of the critical items checklist is to make sure that you have everything you need to run your shift before you open the store. So that's why it's one of the first things on the checklist. But you want to make sure that you have half and half. You want to make sure you have milk. You want to make sure you have espresso, because imagine how embarrassing that is to open the store, run out of espresso, have customers coming in at 8 o'clock and say, I'm sorry, we can't do espresso because we're out. It makes you look bad. So a lot of the reason for these checklists is to keep you from looking bad. So it's really important that you follow along with these checklists and do them correctly. And we've added a couple other things down here. We've had problems of people ordering burritos and them being all frozen and they don't heat up quite right that way. So now getting burritos out is on the critical items list to make sure that they're done. When it's Sunday and you start the new week, what you want to do is erase everything from last week so you're starting with a clean checklist. And that's really important because right now you just can't tell what's been done and what hasn't been. And if the checklists aren't used, then the store does not run smoothly and it'll make your day a lot more agitating. So here is the opening checklist, and you can see there are several things that have been skipped over both days, and one day is missing altogether where the whole checklist wasn't done. Going over to the mid-shift checklist, a whole bunch of items were skipped right here. The whole day of Monday was skipped. A lot of things were skipped on Tuesday and Wednesday, and then Thursday, Friday, and Saturday are skipped altogether. And going over to the closing checklist, it's the same thing. So look at this big, huge mess. Today is Tuesday. Nothing is entered into it, but all this stuff from the right-hand side is still there. So when it's Monday, what you want to do is erase everything to the right, or Sunday, the first day that's there. When you first start that day, you want to erase everything that's on there and start with a clean slate, so to speak, so that you can make sense of it. So hold on and I'll wipe that down and show you what I mean. Cleaned off the whole entire checklist, so you want to do everything that has a box, and if it has an X in the box, you don't need to do it on that day. So this example is to clean the coffee urns with chemical cleaner. We only do that once a week, so we do that on Tuesday or on Monday. So if it's not Monday, you don't need to do it. So for today, the way that you do these is you read the item, you do it, and then you check it off. You don't come back and check the whole bunch of stuff off. You come in, you read it, you do it, and then you check it off. So try and get into that habit of checking it off as you do it. Don't check ahead. Don't come back later and check it off. Check it as you do it. There should always be a dry erase marker around some place we're trying to attach them to each place that they're going to be. So for example, here is the starter. And here is the marker, but while we're here, we'll look at the starter. Nothing on it is filled out, so we don't know when the last time it was done. There's 2 weeks here, so there's an active week, and then the week before should remain filled out until you finish this week and you go to come down here. And when you go to start this second form, then you erase the whole thing, but leave the week before. And the reason for that is that if there's a problem with the bread, the first thing we want to look at is the starter. So we need to know how the starter has been for the last week. So you want to make sure that this is filled out properly. You put the date over here on the side. So this all needs to be dated. And if you just read the directions, it'll tell you everything that you need to do. But make sure that it's built up correctly. Read the directions here and make sure that you've at least doubled before you initial. So that's how to do that. One more worksheet, if you're the baker, you need to look at is, here is the production, and this goes through for a whole week, but this is kind of hard to read. So what you want to do is pick whatever today's day is. So today is Tuesday, and you want to come down through here and see where there's a number. So for example, you want to do 4 loaves of bread, and then copy it over onto this form with the marker, which is missing. So we'll put a new one here, so hold on. Here on Tuesday, you want to do 4 loaves of original. So you come over here to this form, and there's original, there's make and done and initial. So you're going to put 4 right there, and then come back over here, and you want to make 1 batch of bagels. So you want to make 1 batch of bagels, and then coming down the rest of the way, you don't need to make cinnamon rolls because those are made on Wednesday, but you want to wind up with 2 tubs of original bread and 6 quarts of starter. So the tubs are down here. You want to have 2, and you want to have 6 quarts of starter. So this is much easier to read for the day. You can see what you need to make, and so as you make it, as you pan up 4 of these, you'll put a 4 there, and then you'll put your initial right there, and you want to put the date on. So today is the 12th. You don't need to worry about the month. It's unlikely that this will go a whole month without being filled out. So then when you get the bagels done, you want to put a 1 there and initial that. And the other thing with this is, if we're having 2 bakers on and you've marked off what you've made, then when the second baker comes in, they will know what they have to make and what's already been done without having to look for themselves. So it's really important and critical that this be done correctly, and it'll make your day a lot smoother just to know how much work you have to do. And there's another sheet for pastries for the baker, but this is the general concept, and this video is just about how to use the checklist. So that pretty much covers everything. There's that one right there, and then the starter one right here. So if our bread does not turn out tomorrow, we can't look back and see whether or not the starter was fed. And if we're going to make bread today and we don't know if the starter was fed yesterday, our dough might not turn out and our bread might not turn out. So this is really critical to keep filled out. And then over here, as I tell people when they're new, the only thing you have to remember is to come in and go to the checklist. The checklist will tell you everything that you need to do. So starting out with the opening checklist, it tells you to clock in, and then it tells you everything else you need to do. So it's really critical to follow. Get in the habit of doing it. We're just coming out of COVID right now, and we've slacked a little bit. But as we get busier and busier and start doing really busy days with 4 or 5 people on, this becomes more critical, because there's nothing more frustrating than it being your shift and you're taking on for the morning person and you're out of this and out of that and out of the other thing. So get in the habit of developing good habits. And there's also weekly checklists back here, which is referenced in the front ones. So this is kind of color coded. So here's what needs to be done on Sunday, week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, week 5, Sunday. Then on Monday, these things need to get done. On Tuesday, these things need to get done, and then they just get initialed. So this is another checklist, and then the temp log is another checklist. You need to check the temperature of the refrigerators every single day. So if one of them starts to fail, we can get it fixed before we lose everything in it. So that's it for the checklist. Thanks for paying attention. I appreciate it. There's also 5-minute sheets, but we'll go over that in a different one. That's just extra things that the manager sees needs to be done, and they're written down on a 5-minute checklist. Just make sure that you get in the habit of doing the checklist, and your day will be a lot smoother. Thank you very much.